The program, we've got Republican candidate for governor, Jan Morgan is on the line. Jan, welcome to the program.
Hey, great to be with you. This is different, talking to you in the morning hours.
I know, it really is. It's wild, but it's new, but it's good. I think it's welcome, and it happened at a perfect time. We're now on in Little Rock on a great station there, The Answer, as well as our other affiliates across the state. So, Jan, I haven't gotten to talk to you at all since you made the announcement on New Year's Eve. What was that like?
Mass chaos. Paul, we anticipated a great reaction statewide and perhaps nationally. We did not expect it to become international news. So the announcement had a much bigger impact and larger response than we ever thought. So, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I would imagine that the announcement has been so good, because I know you have such a following on social media, and everybody is a large one here in Arkansas as well as nationally. I would imagine that contributions are doing pretty good.
Contributions are up, but it's not where I need it to be yet. A lot of people weren't aware, Paul, and we've made them aware, and that's one of the great things about the fact that we're in this race. We are shining the light on so many things that generally people did not know about. For example, it costs $15,000 just to file as a Republican candidate for governor in this state. Most people didn't have a clue about that. So what we're doing that's different from probably any other gubernatorial campaign in the history of America is that we're being extremely transparent with the people. We are running a grassroots campaign. We're showing the people that we can run a lean campaign, just like we're going to run a lean government. We're keeping people abreast of exactly what we've got in our account. It is the people's campaign, after all. We're going to tell them what the needs are of the campaign and just ask them to help us meet those needs rather than raising as much money as possible, more than is necessary. Our current governor has $2 million, I think, in his war chest.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have to have that, but we do need money to run the race, to buy signs, to buy hats, to buy T-shirts, and those kinds of general things.
Well, there's no doubt that obviously you have to have money to run a campaign. I do think that your advantage is the massive grassroots out there, the activists on social media, as well as not to go negative, but I've been accused of being negative before, as well as Governor Asa Hutchinson's liberal progressive record over the last 3 years. That I think your policy platform really is in stark contrast with what we have seen implemented in Arkansas over the last 3 years.
Absolutely. But it's what the people want, Paul. I mean, we spent the past 6 months traveling the state, listening to the people. How unique is that? Governor Hutchinson has a video of him driving a pickup truck and actually talking to a few people, but we all know that the last time he actually got on the road and drove anything and talked to people and listened to people is people tell me they haven't seen him in their county since he ran the first time. But the good thing is we've listened to people, and based on what the people have told us, are issues that concern them the most, that are negatively impacting their lives, and hence impacting our state, are the issues that we hit on most in our policy platform. And once again, this is the people's platform, just like this is the people's race. We're in this race because they asked us to step up to the plate because they felt like we were the only person, I'm the only person with a large enough space to unseat him. They're not happy with his performance. They're not happy with the bullying tactics of their legislators who were having to vote against the will of their constituency on a number of issues because of pressure from him. So, we stepped up to the plate, and hopefully enough people in the state are paying attention to his record, and they're going to step up to the plate for us on Election Day and vote us in.
Yeah, and that's in May, and so it's going to be kind of a fast couple of months here, but it's going to be very, very intense. And, of course, the governor lost, according to Talk Business and Hendricks College poll from April to, I think, October is when it was conducted. From April to October, he lost 17 points among Republicans in his approval rating. And those 17 percentage points, those are the people that are going to turn out in a Republican primary. So there's no question that people are not happy with his leadership at all. We're talking with Jan Morgan. She's a Republican candidate for governor. She announced on New Year's Eve. She has been active on the national scene for a very long time, advocating for our Second Amendment rights. She's also been the national spokesperson for the Citizens for Trump organization. I want to talk real quick, Jan. You have something in your policies underneath transparency in government that is just near and dear to my heart. I have been talking about recording all committee votes down at the Marble Palace in Little Rock for a very long time, and I'm so happy that you are taking the position that all legislative votes should be recorded so that we know how they're voting in our name.
Absolutely. I mean, the fact that we're even having to ask for that and insist on that is outrageous. The people of this state pay for our government. They pay the bills. And the very least that we as the government can do is turn around and make available to them every single vote on every issue so that they know how their legislator has represented them. Most people did not realize, for example, in House Judiciary and in Senate Judiciary, some of them are recorded, some are not. But they didn't realize that there's this thing called group voice vote, and that their legislators can all in one loud voice all together say yay or nay, and there's no record of who voted how. And so then their legislators can come back to their districts and tell them, oh, I did what you told me to do, and there's no way to prove it. They should have to stand on their votes. We should know what their votes are, not only in writing, but we should have video access at all times to how things went down in our committees.
Mm-hmm. And that's another one of your great policies about, hey, the Senate needs to put cameras in their rooms. You got to have, and you even mentioned, you see, I love the minutia, the cameras in the MAC building. See,
yes.
That's a big deal too. There's so much little minutia that the average Arkansan may not know. These little tricks that they're using to avoid transparency and ultimately accountability at the ballot box. And so, Jan, I just got to say, I applaud you.
You're being nice. They aren't little tricks. It's actually called dirty politics. It's good old boy games, deals that are made behind closed doors. That's going to stop. Day one, Jan Morgan for governor, we're going to shine the light on all the happenings at our state capitol because the people have a right to know, and the cockroaches will scatter. I mean, those kinds of games are going to come to an end. And if you're doing what the people elected you to do, there's no reason that you should mind that. There shouldn't be any pushback from any of our legislators to transparency in government. Let me tell you something else I want to know, Paul. We should have easier access to how our money is being spent. You know, what the hoops we have to jump through to get information. For example, right now, I want to know how much has our governor spent on his trips to China to convince foreign people to come over here and open businesses in our state. I want to know how much he spent on those trips, how much of our money he's offered them to open businesses here, and what kind of tax breaks they're getting that Arkansas businesses are not getting. The people of Arkansas don't want that. We don't need to bring China to Arkansas to generate business. If we gave the same kind of tax incentive to our own companies in our own state that he's giving to China, I think that you would see a lot of small business expansion in this state. Let's give tax breaks to the businesses that are already in existence here, not foreigners to come in and open up shop and compete with our own businesses that are already here.
Yeah, I mean, because it's wrong. I mean, they claim economic development, but what they're really doing is taking an existing business's tax dollars and giving it to a Chinese company so that the Chinese company can hire their workers away at a subsidized cost and pay them a little bit more money. So we're not actually creating a job. Okay, most of these, when we give these money to these companies, most of the jobs that are being, quote, created are not from people who are sitting on their couch right now doing nothing. It's just a game of old maid.
And the bottom line, it's more shell games. There are a lot of shell games being played under the Asa Hutchinson administration. And you know what? Asa's not doing this because he's really trying to help Arkansas. What he's trying to do is get photo ops over in China looking presidential. See, I can go over to China and talk with these foreign people and look like a presidential. He's looking for things he can pad his resume with. The same thing with this whole tax increase, this tax commission. They're going to raise taxes on groceries. That's what they're looking at. Raise taxes on groceries so that he can say, we've cut the state income tax. It's a shell game. You know, raising taxes over here on one side of the pie so that they can say they've cut them on the other side. But the bottom line is the pie is still getting bigger. And the people of Arkansas are smarter than this, Paul.
Yeah, they exactly are, and I'm really glad. We're going to talk more about taxes at the bottom of this hour because I know they've got like a tax force or farce meeting later today. I want to shift. We're talking with Jan Morgan, Republican candidate for governor. We're going to be challenging Asa Hutchinson, the incumbent, in a primary this May. Tell us about this story that broke. I was on vacation December the 28th. We have the governor writing a letter to the Arkansas State Police saying that open carry is now the law in Arkansas. And I just thought to myself, wow, he is really worried about Jan Morgan's Second Amendment credentials here.
You know what, Paul? Look back. How many months ago was it? It was a year ago that I asked the governor in my one-on-one meeting with him to please step out there and announce to the state that we already have constitutional carry. We've had it all along. I just wanted him to step out there and announce it to the people. Well, he finally did it, only he forgot to look up the definition of constitutional carry, and so he announced we have it, but then he followed that up by saying, but that's not inconsistent with a licensing program requirement for people to conceal carry. Well, actually, it is inconsistent. Look up the definition of constitutional carry. Now, somebody in his staff should have defined that for him so that he didn't step out there and make this mistake. But now he has. I love the Arkansas Times. Imagine me saying this. The Arkansas Times actually posted a cartoon that I thought was amazing. It was great. It was a cartoon of me holding up a Jan Morgan for Governor sign in one hand and holding a gun to the governor's head with the other hand and saying, we have constitutional carry in Arkansas, and he's raising, and his little caption says, we have open carry, constitutional carry in Arkansas. So even the Arkansas Times recognizes that my presence here is forcing the governor to step further to the right and do what he should have done all along. And it's not just on 2A issues. He's trying to look more conservative. Watch him in the months ahead step to the right of where he's actually been as a governor to try to reach those people who know that is not how he's been governing.
Yeah, and that's going to happen, and this is the first example of it. There's going to be many more to come. There's going to be a lot of carefully crafted language again, trying to kind of adopt conservative buzzwords, but he means something different than the way people are going to perceive it. On this Second Amendment issue, Jan, you know, all he did was make the people that know what the definition of constitutional carry really is upset, and he's really using his friends in the media to get a headline out there he thinks is going to be perceived positive. But if you read between the lines, he's not saying anything really new that he hasn't said before, because he's still protecting this idea that you need a permit to conceal carry as well, protecting the revenue of the Arkansas State Police. And then he also made Moms Demand Action mad, finally. And I say finally, Jan, because you know something about how Moms Demand Action, they were actually really happy with the governor. This anti-Second Amendment group, Moms Demand Action, was very happy with the governor last session.
Oh, yes. In fact, he made a point of making cozy little shots with the group, pictures with the group, and putting it on social media. But let me tell you what else he did in his announcement, Paul, that is even more egregious. He gave prosecuting attorneys in this state more constitutional authority than they have. He gave them the right. He gave them permission to, in their own county, decide their own rule on what gun rights are in their county. Now, because of what he said on social media, he said that that people still need to check with their county prosecutor, because their prosecuting attorney in their individual county in Arkansas might have a different interpretation. You know what? It doesn't matter what a county prosecutor's interpretation is. As the governor of the state, he needs to tell the people of the state, Article 2 of the Arkansas Constitution says that the people of this state have a right to keep and bear arms. And furthermore, Section 29 clarifies that any encroachment or infringement is inviolate, which means the state government can't, without a constitutional amendment, the state government can't turn around and regulate further the gun rights of the people. But he just gave county prosecutors around the state. In other words, now, because of what the governor said, every time I travel outside of my county, I need to call the county prosecuting attorney and ask him, okay, is it okay with you if I open carry or if I carry a gun without a license? Because the governor said I need to check with you. to make sure it's okay.
Ugh.
That is way too much power that he has given to prosecuting attorneys. And I'm not saying he said that. I am proving that. It was on his page. He posted on the Asa for Governor page. I screenshotted it and have been showing it to the people. That's the most egregious thing that this governor has done this past year regarding the gun rights of the people.
Yeah, I think you're right. All it does is just make a lot of uncertainty in terms of, and that's not the type of government.
More confusion.
Yeah, more confusion. That's all he did. And in trying to score political victory points, he makes everything more confusing, which is the same thing he did with the enhanced carry mess. That wasn't a well-thought-out policy, and they were only taking in political considerations to protect Asa from having to veto and be exposed as anti-Second Amendment.
Day one of the Jan Morgan administration, I will step up before the people and clarify. It is not up to the prosecuting attorneys in this state to make the law. It is not up to the Attorney General of this state to make the law. The Arkansas Constitution clearly states that the people of this state have a right to keep and bear arms, and this administration will not discriminate against financially disadvantaged people by requiring them to get a permit. You can get a permit if you want to, because you may travel out of state and you want to make sure that you can carry in states that aren't constitutional carry. But this state is a constitutional carry state, and no prosecutor, no law enforcement officer is going to conflict and act in any way that conflicts with our state constitution. It will be clear on day one.
Jan Morgan, Republican candidate for governor, thanks so much for stopping by this morning.
You bet, Paul.
All
Always
right.
great visiting with you.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Be safe. Folks, we've got to take a break. It's Conduit News Radio. I'm Paul Harrell, back in just a moment.